Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, we need to take a look at a new Whimsicott card. And I'm going to be honest with you about this one. I'm a little bit sad with this Whimsicott. Because this is the first time we've ever actually had a psychic type Whimsicott. The reason essentially is because Whimsicott is fairy grass, and of course fairy are now psychic, and this is the first one that would have been fairy, ergo, first psychic type Whimsicott. And we really want this to be a fairy Pokemon, and it's not, and that's really sad. Let me explain. So what we've got then, and of course our translation comes from the lovely Antoine Boulet at this stage, why would it not? And what we've got here, well, I mean, there's many reasons, but it does. And what we've got here is 90 HP, which is very, very low for a stage 1. But having said that, we can have a look at other Whimsicott, and actually, 90 HP, it's the second beefiest we've ever actually had. We did get the 100 HP one from Sword and Shield, but other than that, 90 HP for a Whimsicott, although terrible generally, it ain't bad for a Whimsicott. We got free retreat, which is awesome. Free retreat is a huge advantage, so that's quite nice. After a KO or after a switch or anything along those lines, that's really cool. And we've got a weakness to metal because, of course, this would have been fairy if fairy Pokemon still existed. Weakness to metal, it's not ideal, but there aren't that many metal Pokemon around hitting 50 damage. I mean, obviously something like a Zacian is just going to destroy you anyway. And then something like a Duraludon only actually hits for 30 naturally, so it still won't get a KO. So maybe it's not that big a deal. As for being a psychic type, you're hitting weakness on stuff like Mewtwo and Mew, which is a very good relevant card still at the moment. So that's quite nice, although you have lost most of your advantages. You've lost Spell Tag, which is sad, and you've lost Mysterious Treasure to search you out, and well, I would say you've lost Malamar to accelerate energy, but I'll be honest with you, you're attacking for 1 energy here, so the loss of Malamar is not felt as keenly or acutely as it may otherwise have been. But what does it actually do? Well, the first attack here is actually useful. 1 colourless energy, draw 3 cards. And I know that's not particularly good. No one's arguing it's amazing. But and again, on a basic, I love drawing 3 on a basic. And I've said that before. If you can draw 3 cards on a basic, go second. I'm trying to set up, draw 3 cards, fine. Drawing 3 cards on a stage 1, no. But again, if we take this in context, I've gone first. It's my second turn. I've got nothing. Maybe my opponent played something like a Marnie and I've just not been able to draw out of it. Oh, I can draw 3 cards. Obviously, I'd rather be doing something better after having evolved up to a stage 1. But you know what? You might not have anything better. And when you're desperate, when you've got nothing, drawing 3 cards is good. Not saying it's a great attack. I'm saying it's a good bonus if you're playing the card anyway. So do we have a reason to play the card anyway? And the answer is yes. Yes, we absolutely do. 1 energy, psychic, but still only 1 energy. 10 damage. Before dealing damage, you may discard any number of Pokemon tools attached to your Pokemon in play. This attack does 40 more damage for each Pokemon tool discarded in this way. Oh. Oh, well, that's pretty gosh darn good. That's really gosh darn good. Now you need to play a tool heavy deck, etc. We'll get there in a moment. But actually, this is kind of cool. Now, if we take the basic calculation here, the no frills, no extra tricks calculation, we can have 6 Pokemon in play. We can discard a tool from each of those 6 Pokemon. 6 times 40 is 240. Add the base 10 is 250. If you've got a tool and all 6 of your Pokemon in play and you discard them, you are doing 250 damage. It's not bad. It's not bad. For a single energy on a single prize stage 1 Pokemon, I mean, I'm sitting here saying, oh, that's not bad. No, that's actually really good. Like, really good. So I'm kind of a huge fan of this attack. Single energy, 250 damage, let's do this. And I suppose this is as good a time as any to mention U-Turn Board. Remember, U-Turn Board is a tool you attach to your Pokemon, And if this card is discarded from play, put it into your hand instead of the discard pile. So essentially, with 4 U-turn board, that guarantees 170 damage. And they're going to go back to your hand. And sure, your opponent can play a Marnie, your opponent can play a reset stamp, and then they'll go back into your deck. And that's annoying, though you can then get them back. But if you want to keep the tools on board, this is a good way to do so. Very much worth bearing in mind that as a single energy attacker, you can use Aurora energy here. I mean, what you can do quite nicely is use Horror Psychic energy. So then when your opponent attacks, they have to take 20 damage. But I'm thinking, what if we're going to be teching this into random decks? That's what I'm thinking about here. And you know what? I can put this with an Aurora energy in and do 250 damage. That's quite cool. I say that, we do need to remember that you're only doing 250 damage if you've got 6 tools on, and that is not always going to be the easiest thing to do. I mean, this is a card that really makes me lament the loss of Adventure Bag, because Adventure Bag was an item card that let you search for 2 Pokemon tools, and then of course you attach them, that's an extra 80 damage. Now, to be fair, there is an argument that, are you really going to find space for a bunch of those and a whole bunch of tools? Maybe not. But it's worth remembering. We do actually have the Greedent from Rebel Clash at the moment. It's a stage 1, and it just lets you search for a Pokemon tool and pop it into your hand. So if you do want to be searching out your tools, Greedent is kind of a fun way to do so. And it's not going to help you search out the tools, but Alolan Ninetales from Cosmic Eclipse hasn't rotated. And this actually is a fairy Pokemon, so ha, in your face ADP. But remember, this actually does 10 damage for each Pokemon tool in your discard pile for 0 energy. So it's not like you have to play any kind of other energy here. So if you kind of start the game with Whimsicott, smash for a little bit, do a bunch of damage, you get, say, 10, 12, 14, 15 cards in the discard pile, tool cards, you're doing 100, 120, 140, 150 damage for 0 energy with Alolan Ninetales. Not to mention hitting weakness on one of the very best Pokemon in the game right now, and you can always use a great Catcher to drag them into the active, and discard a couple extra tools if that's what you're in the mood for doing. So that's kind of awesome. Great combo between these 2 Pokemon. Although while we're talking about obscure Pokemon that interact with this, do remember that Honchkrow GX will completely shut this Pokemon down, because Honchkrow GX does have that ability that stops you attaching Pokemon tools when it's active. So if your opponent's got a Honchkrow, things are not looking amazing, I think is an understated way to go and put it. If we're looking for another attacker we could use here, how about the Doublade that came around in Team Up? Again, that will be surviving the rotation. Doublade from Team Up for basically a twin energy does 30 damage for each Pokemon tool attached to all Pokemon in play, yours and your opponent's. So now we've got this weird kind of 3-pronged attack, whereby you've got Doublade to attack when all the tools are attached. Then you've got Whimsicott to discard the tools. Then you've got Alolan Ninetales to come and attack based on all the tools in the discard pile. It's going to be a weird stage 1 deck rolling around here. And of course, you'd then be hitting for 3 different weaknesses, bearing in mind neither Doublade nor Alolan Ninetales needs a particular type of energy. I mean, Alolan Ninetales doesn't even need energy at all. And then what we've actually got here is this really weird deck all based around tools. The real question for me, of course, are you doing enough damage? Because if you've got a tool attached to all of your Pokemon and your opponent doesn't, Doublade does 180. Although you are hitting Metal Weakness. And then if you've got a tool attached to everyone and discard them all, then you're doing 250 with Whimsicott, and 250 is enough to KO something like a Pikachu and Zekrom. But if we're getting up to stuff like Eternatus V Max, you're not even close. Although I suppose at that stage you are taking the pressure off a little bit. You only need to hit like 170 to get a 2-hit KO, so that's 4 tools discarded, 4 40s or 160, plus the 10 base is 170, and then if you do that twice, you will be hitting 340, and that will be a 1-hit KO on Eternatus V Max. So the numbers work out quite nicely there, although you do open your opponent up to healing with stuff like Mallow and Lana and throwing your maths off and all of that, and that would be very sad indeed. And then Alolan Ninetales, you're not going to get up to huge damage of Alolan Ninetales, But then again, you hitting one of the best Pokemon in the game for weakness. If every few games you can take free prizes off an ADP, I think that's probably worth it. One of the biggest issues at the moment is we don't have anything to stash multiple tools on. The Genesect from Lost Thunder has just rotated. That would have allowed you to put 2 tools on. And of course, the more tools you got in play, the more you can discard or the more damage you can do with Doublade. And I mean, a while ago, we had that really awesome Sigilif with Toolbox that let you attach 4 tools to it. Now, if you head over into the expanded format where this is still legal, that will make this Whimsicott way, way better. I do worry that it doesn't have quite the damage output, but having said that, does it really matter? Like, we're not getting big one-hit KOs, but we're talking single energy attachment, single prize stage 1 Pokemon, 2-hit KO a bunch of stuff. That sounds fine to me. I'm giving this between 3 and 4 Whoopsies. I worry that it's going to end up being too awkward. You need to draw into too many tools, then you need to discard them all, and then the damage isn't quite high enough, etc. But the fact of the matter is, this could be good. Of course, were it a fairy Pokemon, then we would be able to use all of those fairy charms. So essentially, you would use fairy charm to give yourself immunity from Pokemon. And then if you weren't getting immunity, you could just discard them and go from there. That would be amazing. Now, we're not keeping all of the fairy charms post-rotation, but we still got Fairy Charm UB, Fairy Charm Ability, and Fairy Charm Lightning. And do remember, they only protect from EX and GX, not Pokemon V. Fine. But I tell you what, if we could be hitting ADP for weakness, and we would also be able to take advantage of the few Fairy Charms we've still got, this would be a much better Pokemon. I still like it. I still think it's a good card. I still think it's going to make a fun little rogue deck. But make no mistake about it, as a fairy Pokemon, this would be way, way cooler. But I still like it. I'm still loving it. But I would like to know what you think. So, let me know in the comment section, would you? Go nuts! Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at The Whoopsy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.